So Dune was absolutely my most anticipated movie of the year, and I say that as somebody who has never read the book series whatsoever and really doesn't know the story of Dune. I know I saw the old movie, the 70s movie that came out, I know, like in the 70s, obviously a little redundant there. I know I saw that as a kid. I remember watching it with my dad and everything, but this was many, many years ago. I didn't really know anything about Dune going in. But the one thing that I did know that made it my most anticipated film of the year was, well, the cast, but primarily the director, Denis Villeneuve. This guy is probably one of my favorite directors working today. He's probably, if I had to name my top 5 directors, I think he's moving up into that branch because every movie he puts out just fucking bangs, dude. Like, the last one he did was Blade Runner 2049, which blew me away. I love that film. I love the story. I love the look of it, the cinematography, everything about it. Dude, Minority, I know I'm in the minority, but I actually like Blade Runner 2049 better than the original. I said it, I'm sorry, and I'm a huge Ridley Scott fan, but just that movie blew me away. He did Prisoners, which is a really dark, intense, and seriously emotional movie. That movie is just, it's hard to watch at some scenes, and not because it's violent or outlandish, just the subject matter is really, really tough. He did the movie Enemy, which I thought was really good. He did Arrival, which was really good. So this guy just constantly just puts out bangers, and none of his films feel like they're just run-of-the-mill, half-assed, whatever, make a movie to get it out. They all seem like they have a purpose, they have a message, they have a story to tell, they have interesting characters to them, and the fact that he works primarily in the sci-fi genre, or at least has for his last 3 or 4 movies, this is what we need in sci-fi, because sci-fi has always been one of my favorite genres of all time, but as of late, I mean, can you really think of any sci-fi, really big films or franchises or anything that has a legitimate budget behind it that has been something special? And there really isn't a lot of them, but Dune absolutely was. Then let's talk about the cast. You got Timothée Chalamet in there. You got Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Rebecca Ferguson, freaking Jason Momoa. Javier Bardem is in there. Zendaya's in there for a little bit. By the way, no spoilers in this review, or at least I'll mark the spoiler territory once I get to it. But some of the characters might not be in the movie as much as you want them to be, depending on what actor you're going to see, because Dune is a really long, big, epic tale to tell that has a lot of moving pieces and a lot of characters, and this is, of course, only part 1, and hopefully we get more movies coming forward, which, to my knowledge, is not guaranteed, which is kind of the scary part, because I feel like we need this series right now, not just because Dune deserves a good adaptation, but because we just need this in sci-fi, we need this in film, we need this in cinema, we need this sort of grand Lord of the Rings style epic tale, but in a sci-fi setting, and that's what this movie is. So because of the director, because of the cast, Hans Zimmer's score as well, oh my god, dude, Hans Zimmer never fucking misses, and he doesn't miss in this movie either. The score is amazing. Hans Zimmer can take a movie that sucks ass and amplify it. He did the score to, X-Men Dark Phoenix or whatever, the worst X-Men movie, and the score to that movie made the movie worth watching. Hans Zimmer does not miss, and he absolutely nails the score to this movie. He gives it the scope, the scale that it feels like when you're looming in, when the shots are coming down on particular planets, and you feel this larger-than-life, grand feeling that comes with the music and everything. And same thing with the things going on within the characters' minds. There's this shot early in the movie where Timothée Chalamet's character, he's looking out, he's going to leave the world that he's on for the first time, and very, very reminiscent to me of the scene where Luke Skywalker first looks at the double suns and on Tatooine, and they play the John Williams score. Well, this one has the Hans Zimmer score, sort of preparing for the adventure, the hero's journey, that sort of thing. And he just nails it, man. He just nails it. And look, Dune is a really dense thing. From what I hear, there's even a bunch of stuff in the novel that was not included in the movie. However, the movie was a really, really good straight adaptation of the novel, or at least the first novel. I don't know how many there are, but this is obviously part 1. It even says that in the opening titles, which I was shocked by because, to my knowledge, like I said, I didn't know if they're actually going to make the other movies. I thought it was all dependent on how well this movie does. So the fact that the opening titles say Dune Part 1 was actually really nice to see, and also kind of sets the audience up, because when this movie ends, Obviously, this movie doesn't really have an ending. It's very, very open. The story's just beginning. But it's a very intricate story that has a lot of things to do with, the politics of how things are run between these planets and the warring nations and everything, and how things work on different planets and what's going on. And Arrakis, I believe, is the main planet used in this movie, where they're harvesting the spice. Everyone knows he who controls the spice controls the universe. Even if you've never watched Dune before, you've probably heard that phrase before. And spice is basically it's harvested from the sands of this desert planet, and it's used for like interstellar travel, basically. So it's like one of the most important resources. It's like as important as water is. It's a very, very important resource, and different people are sent to sort of like keep an eye on it and to be the ones that are the ones harvesting it, that are in charge of it and everything like that. And that's where the main characters of this movie come in. Oscar Isaac, he's sort of the leader of this nation, of this planet, at least as far as I'm getting it. Sorry for like the book readers if I get anything wrong, but this is the general gist. So he's sent to Arrakis to sort of like be in charge of this harvesting of the spice. And there's natives that live on the planet that aren't exactly like too particularly cool with people coming in and do this, although they don't really have a choice in the matter. And there's also other nations, like other planets that had control of it at one point. Now they don't. They're a little bit pissed off about it. So there's all this sort of like political thing going on back and forth. And then it also deals, of course, like with the hero's journey and lineage and everything, and things that the main character can do and what he's connected to that some of the characters don't know about, as well as he's having a little bit of visions of the future or of potential futures and things like that. So he's got a little bit of a special edge to him. Now, I thought Timothée Chalamet's character, the main character, Paul, I thought he did a really, really good job with this character. I thought he made him make a lot of sense to me, like the decisions he was making, and the fact that he's surrounded by such a stellar cast. I mean, I don't really know Timothée Chalamet that much. I mean, I know he's a really good actor, but he's surrounded by like powerhouses like Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, you know what I mean? And he really, really holds his own up against all of these actors, which I thought was great. I thought Oscar Isaac probably gave the best performance in the movie. I've always loved him in every film that I've ever seen him in. In this movie, he really gives it all. Same thing with Josh Brolin and Jason Momoa as well. Jason Momoa has some actually like pretty like emotional moments and a lot of action moments in this movie. But also I'll say this movie is like it's over 2.5 hours long, and it's only a part one. And there is a lot of exposition and setup going on in this movie. So if you're going into it expecting like a big action epic or like a Star Wars, you're not really going to get that, at least not at first. There is a lot of action in this movie, but it doesn't really happen towards the second half and like a little bit later in the second half. We have a lot of sort of setup and exposition to get you to know how these worlds work, how like the spice harvesting thing works, like what's going on with Paul's character and his visions and everything like that, and just getting to know the characters. Also, they're like training and simulation. I loved how the primary weapon of these characters was a machete. As somebody, and literally I have machetes in every room of my house except for this one. I would pull one out right now, but it's kind of like one of my favorite weapons in the world is a machete. Simple, effective. I love blades. It is what it is. And I loved how machetes were like the primary weapon. They didn't really use guns. They didn't use swords or axes, really. They used machetes. It was great. There's also a great like sort of armor system that they have where it's sort of like it's this device they wear on their wrist, and they're able to activate it, and if they get hit in like a spot that would wound them, it would glow blue for a little bit, and if it's a killing blow, it would glow red. And it sort of works as a protective armor, but it's not invincible. So basically, if you get hit in like a red zone, it gives you like a couple of seconds to block it, but you still have to be able to actually block it or move out of the way. So if a blade's coming at your neck, it'll like stop it for a little bit before it actually slices all the way through. So you get like that extra like 2-3 seconds to save yourself, which was a pretty cool concept. All of the technology in the movie was really awesome, how they were able to explain it. I liked the different styles of ships that they would use. There's one that looks like a dragonfly that they primarily use throughout most of the movie, which was great. And then just kind of exploring this sort of fantastical, like fantasy world in the realms of sci-fi. And then, of course, you have the sandworms, which everyone knows or at least is aware of. Gigantic freaking monsters that live underneath the sand, like freaking huge giant manda kaiju beasts that will come out and swallow you whole. They don't give a shit. You cannot reason with them. They are giant worms. It's awesome. You know, without going into full detail of like spoilers and everything, all I can say is I think it's a movie definitely worth seeing if you're looking for sci-fi, if you're looking for epic fantasy, if you need that sort of, like, I say Lord of the Rings, it's very different because it's in a different genre, but it's got that like epic long journey story, like tale, hero's journey to it. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you would like Dune, or if you're a Star Wars fan, you'd like Dune. But they're very different though. And some people are going to say that this movie's boring. Some people are going to say that it's too slow. And like I said, like the first hour and a half of this movie, not a lot of action happens because it's a lot of setup and story. However, I happen to really enjoy this setup and the story. And I think the way that it works in between seeing Hans Zimmer's score and the cinematography and leading you into these different worlds, like you basically just have to, don't go in expecting, be like, oh, I can't wait for the action. Like go in just like wanting to be absorbed into this world, because that's what the movie does really well, and that's what Denis Villeneuve does very well in all of his movies. In Blade Runner 2049, it's the same concept. You're going to a new location. He lets you bask in that location. It's very slow, like the establishing shots. It really lets you know like the sense of scale of where you're at, how big the ships are, like what the characters are doing, what the ancillary characters are running around doing. Everybody has an importance. Like it feels like a lived-in world, that people are actually living here and actually doing things here. Like it really makes you feel like everything is working the way it's supposed to. So I've always appreciated stuff like that, you know, world building aspects and everything. And the fact that a lot of the exposition is sort of like understood. Like I'm not saying like, oh, you got to be super smart or else you won't understand this movie, but it trusts its audience's intelligence where it doesn't need to verbatimly say everything to you. You get it by what the characters are doing, what they're wearing, how their technology works. Like you understand the little context clues of what is happening. Not every little piece of exposition needs to be explained to you. So it is one of those movies where you got to pay attention, you got to focus, and you got to think about it as you're watching it. So if you're into that style of movie, I think you're going to absolutely love Dune. Now, Dune is, of course, playing in theaters, and it is on HBO Max. I do have HBO Max, but since I was so excited for this movie, and I'm just excited to be back in theaters, I went to go see it in the IMAX, and dude, if I had like a joint, like I don't smoke weed that often, but if I did and I took that with me and I went to IMAX and watched this, I literally would have come out of that movie having like a religious experience. I swear to God. So if you choose to do that, let me know how it goes. But I would really, really recommend watching this in a theater because just the epic scope, the scale, you know, the cinematography and that Hans Zimmer score, I think it really, really would be best appreciated in a theater. But watch it however you can if you can't get to theaters or whatever it is, or if you're just sitting at home and you need a great movie to watch. It is on HBO Max right now, so definitely check it out. It's got my seal of approval. I loved it. Also, like the ending is really, really abrupt. Like I really wanted more as I was watching it because I was invested in the story. I was invested in the characters and everything, and so I really hope that we are able to get a part 2. A lot of that depends on how well this movie does, I believe. So hopefully that is coming in the near future. I can't wait for more of it. If we don't, though, I will always appreciate this movie. And like I said, like Denis Villeneuve, just take my money. Anytime you do a film, I'm there, dude. Like I'm all about it, man. So let me know what you guys thought of Dune in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you love it? Now, if you're a fan of the book series, also put that down in the comments because I'm curious of how well this adapted the books, because I've never read them myself, so I'm only speaking on the perspective of a new viewer to just the movie itself. So I'm curious of what the book readers have to say. But anyways, guys, so if you like this review, please give it a thumbs up because it will really help me in the algorithm. It actually does help a lot, any interaction with the video. So thumbs up, comment, thoughts, theories, ideas about Dune, put that all down below. Who was your favorite character as well? Other than that, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you next time.